So I'm going to show you how to garden and landscape and do things working down low, specifically usually like when you're pulling weeds. So first and foremost, the kind of biggest theme is that you want to mix it up. So really your best like weeding position or yard work position is your next position, which means just switching it up, changing how you're stressing your body. And number two is really like you do use your back muscles to do this. So if you have a little back soreness, it's not crazy. Ideally, we'd want a little more glute soreness though. And so your key movement to think about is hip hinging. So that ability to hinge at your hip and keep a neutral spine as opposed to flexing through the low back. So you'll just kind of want to check in. Also to be able to pelvic tilt in your positions will also be really important. So you want to be able to hip hinge. You can check out our hip hinge video for that. And then also just the mobility to be able to get down into a deep squat with your heels down would be ideal. To help with that, wearing some shoes with a little bigger heel can kind of help. And then long term, wearing shoes with less of a heel to kind of make yourself get more ankle mobility, not a bad thing. So anyways, lots of different positions. Definitely not a bad thing to wear some knee pads or have a foam pad, but basically when we get down low. So the key here again is going to be lots of different positions. So number one, we can get down and we can squat. So you can work out in the squat. I do have a little bit of a rounded back here as opposed to this nice neutral spine. That's going to kind of happen down here. So you can get down into a squat and kind of working your weeds in that squat position. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is that you can kind of get into this half kneel position. And I'm trying to kind of stay fairly neutral through my low back, but you know, a little bit of rounding's okay here. So kind of work through there, pull another weed. Then you can switch positions on the half kneel, switch legs. Okay, then you can go to tall kneel, which would just be both knees down. And again, can just kind of work away at what you're doing there. Okay. Then let's say I'm kind of rounded here. I can kind of just tilt my pelvis to get a little more neutral if I want. Great strategy is to kind of put one arm down. And so I'm kind of supporting with one while I pull with the other. I can switch. Then the other thing is then I kind of went from that tall kneel to just this hands and knees position. Great position to work in as well. Again, kind of just paying attention to my low back position as I do that. And then lastly, taking a break from all the kneeling, and you can either sit on the ground and you can sit a little crisscross applesauce as you work. And then the key would just be moving pretty quickly to, like, you know, if I wanted to move over here, just scooch. I can go legs out and work. I could go legs off to a side, kind of one hand down and work. So again, the key is just mixing it up. And then lastly, I can work a little bit on a bucket. So this is a little higher bucket, which is going to force me to flex a little more through my low back, which would be okay for a period of time, but then I would probably want something that's a little lower as well. So the key with all of those is just being able to have that ability of knowing how to kind of hip hinge, keep a neutral spine, and then mix it up. And then knowing that I was using my back muscles, the goal would be that if I had some soreness later that day or the next day, they would kind of be more my glute muscles. And like anything in life, if you haven't been weeding or doing any yard work and then you go out and do hours, you're definitely more susceptible to having some extra soreness versus maybe doing 30 minutes at first and then 45 and then an hour. So hope those tips are helpful. You can also check out our video as far as some things to consider if you're doing any yard work up high, and all our other kind of lifting and other videos that are helpful. So hope that's helpful for you, and happy gardening out there.